death and aliens and in-depth look in horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are you?
You know, I'm okay. Friday night I worked and I had simultaneously one of the best work days and the worst work days at the same time. And that is because the shift was actually decent. Like I ended at a reasonable time. I was out by like 11:30, maybe even 11. No, I was out by 11. Yeah, I was out by 11. Um, it was for an ABBA tribute band that were like really into it.
I love that for you.
And I really thought I was going to start the show on time. I don't know who I thought I was that I was going to get the show started on time when the entire audience was middle-aged women, like middle-aged white
Mm,
women.
yeah.
So we did not start the show on time, but everybody was at the bar, everybody was buying drinks, but nobody was sloppy. Like it was like
It's a
exactly what
classy crowd for
it was,
ABBA.
well, no, but like fun, wild, like party, not sloppy.
Hmm.
Like two tequilas in with a feather boa, not like telling the person next to you they're not allowed to sing out loud.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and it was like but basically full house, and everybody was having fun, and everybody was like respectful, and it was like really great show. And like I got out early. The people who were like in the group were super great. Everything was totally fine. However, on my way to work, I experienced what may have been the strangest thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. I was driving to work and I was stopped at a red light. And this guy gets out of the passenger seat of the car behind me, walks up to my car, and tries to open the back seat of my car and get in. Now, I'm not parked. I'm at a red light. My car's still in drive, so
That's what they give you.
my doors are still auto locked. So he can't open the car. So then he just like runs back to his car. Now, they didn't follow me.
Okay.
Listen, they didn't follow me. They didn't like make eye contact with me or anything when they were in the car. They looked like they were both like 17 or 18. I genuinely think what happened was this guy was like, I fucking dare you to go open that lady's car door. And he did. Like, I think that that's what happened.
I hope so, but I've heard tracking stories about that.
I've
They're
heard
very similar.
I've heard horrible trafficking stories about that. But I also like I watched them, they didn't follow me. I parked my car in the lot, like in the dock at Shays, so that if they were to follow my car, they would go to the theater. And it wasn't even at the same theater that I was working at. And I like walked around the car and like made sure that there was nothing physically in the handle, and I did not, and then I didn't touch that door handle, just in case. But my fat ass is sitting there trying to eat my Wendy's fries and dip them in my fucking caramel frosty at this red light. And then some fucking dude just tries to get in my car. And I was like scared and
That is
stressed
so
out.
scary.
I was terrified. I was scared and I was stressed out. But honestly, I was pissed off. I was like, you just interrupted fry time because I only have so much time at a red light and my fries will be cold before I get to work.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I almost died on Friday.
Oh, you didn't tell me that when I said, how is work going? And you said it's an ABBA tribute. You
Yeah.
didn't start by saying, I almost died. Everything's fine.
Yeah, no, I did not. I also didn't tell Dan till after was on my way home from work because I didn't want him to be thinking about me sitting downtown with somebody maybe following my car.
But that's when you gotta have people know. So they know if they need to be tracking you.
Well, he can track me all the time.
Yeah,
He
but is he
has
gonna look up if he doesn't need to? It might be too late by then.
sometimes he's weird. Sometimes we just like watch each other on the map like fucking psychopaths.
Caitlin does that to me. Every now and then I'll get a text from Caitlin, like when I was in the city, and she's like, "Why are you in Kansas City?" And I was like, "Why are you stalking me?"
No, I did that to Dan once. I go, "Why are you at Lindbergh?" He goes, "I'm voting." I go, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Why are you watching?" I go, "You came home from work late. I don't know." Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm.
So I almost died. this
Well,
week.
I'm glad you didn't.
How are
That
you?
sounds terrifying. I'm okay. If you watched last episode, we are recording the same day. I've just changed. I'm only cute for the DNA awards. I am still a little under the weather, so I've gotten back into comfort clothes. Um, although I'm thinking I'm less under the weather and more that I have like a pinched nerve or something.
Mm,
I need someone to diagnose me who does like muscular things. Um, because it was a long weekend. I was trying to study. I'm behind on everything because of dad coming in and being sick, and like I slept all day
yeah.
last
Yeah.
week. Like it's just everything's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but on Sunday, which was yesterday, I just put my yoga mat out and I just like flat on the floor, and then I just like twisted and turned a lot, and I felt so much better than I had in days.
Mm.
I'm still a little. I still think I have a little bit of an asthma concern, but hopefully it's going away because I don't have asthma medicine right now. I do have an inhaler, which I've been using. What are you doing? What are you doing? But yeah, so I'm just like hanging in there and hoping for the best. Because I can't do anything with my life, like I
Yeah.
have a little bit of a headache right now. Like everything is just a little bit off all the time right now. And
Yeah.
it sucks. So I've been reading some books. I've read three since we met last 20 minutes ago. Um, it feels like 20 minutes ago, but it was
Yeah.
like 4 days. Um, I finished The Flight Attendant, which I was listening to an audio, and so I listened to it at work today. Um, really liked it. Now I'm ready to go watch the HBO show with Kaylee Cuoco.
Oh, love her.
Um, I haven't seen the show yet, but
I
I
haven't
really
seen the
like
show, but I like her. So,
I like her too. And I read, I think I told you I was supposed to read the ARC for AG Twist.
yes.
I read that. I did read it and left my review. It was really good. It's actually really interesting. So it's called The Cage, not the Bonnie Kistler one. Mm, Bonnie Kistler's an actress. It's Bonnie something. That's the one that pops up first when you search The Cage. It's not that
Mm.
one.
Okay.
It's The Cage, Eight by AG Twist. And it's really like it's so interesting because I was reading it and the mindset's like so I'm on the story killer team, which is like we give feedback and stuff to the author when the
Yeah.
new books come out. And so I'm like writing in my head this draft of what I'm gonna say, and I'm like, this feels like a little unrealistic, like some of these characters are a little bit too overemphasized and some of the plot moves in a direction that doesn't really make sense. And then like halfway through the book, everything makes sense. And I was like, it just hits you and it's like no but like you may could have done it a little bit different but it had to be a little bit this way to
Yeah.
get to this place. And I don't want to give anything away, obviously. This one being
Oh.
super vague, but it is a book that you're gonna feel a little off in the beginning
Okay.
and then you're gonna figure out why, and everything's gonna come together and it's really good. um I should have known. This is like the 12th book I've read of his. Like it's not the first time I've read a book by him. Um but I really liked it. So definitely pick that one up. It came out, I want to say the third week of May. It's already out by the time we're recording this. I think it came out the third week of May.
Mm.
Because I was there reviewing it. And then I also read The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Let me tell you, have you read a Jennifer Lynn Barnes
I
book?
have not.
She also wrote The Inheritance Games.
Mm. I love.
I have not read any of her books either. I did buy The Inheritance Games like a month ago. Haven't read it.
Mm-hmm.
So The Naturals was a book for one of my book clubs. And I was like, I'm gonna read it. It's like 330 pages or something. And it was paperback is what I got from the library. So I was like, I just don't feel good. I can't focus. I'm gonna lay down and read this book. I finished the whole book in like 3 hours. I just laid down and read the whole
Wow.
book. It's so good. And I think it's a trilogy. I know
Okay.
there's more in the series, but it's at least there may be 5 books. I don't know. So I want to read more. But it was really good. So I was just really pleased with my reading selection this week, which is really great
Yeah.
because I think I'm not gonna like one of the books I picked for book club this month, if
Well,
not two of them.
I wish that I could tell you guys that I had finished a book, but since I'm reading 6 of them, I got really far in a lot of them, but I didn't finish any of them because I kept going back and forth between books. And I don't regret my choice. I'm enjoying all of the books, but I do regret that I'm not finishing books faster.
Right, right. Yeah. I did notice you got really far. You were like almost 50% in Last Kingdom or something.
I'm 64% the way through The Last Kingdom. I'm 68% of the way through The Beast Within.
Hmm.
Um, I'm 33% of the way through um the last train to Istanbul, and I'm 31% of the way through the Crescent City book. And then I'm only about fif between 15 and 20% of the way through Fourth Wing and Zodiac. Or no, Zodiac's the one that I got to 33% and Last Kingdom's at like 20. Or last train is at like 20. But yeah, so I'm over 20% in all of them. And two of them I'm over 50%. But I just didn't finish anything.
Yeah, I just started reading The Tradwife's Secret, which is supposed to be like the new hot thriller. I won it
Mm.
on Fable. I'm super stoked about it. Um, I've just started. I think I'm like 7% in. So I'm reading that and I'm reading The Honey Witch. Those are my ebooks that I'm reading for book clubs. And then I have The Ministry of Time and The Golden Couple that I'm reading for my like video book. Um, so
Oh, I'm
before
also re-listening to the audiobook of the first Crescent City.
Hmm,
Because like I like to with SGM books, I like to read them first and then listen to the
yeah.
graphic audio. Um,
Yeah, I listened to the first book, I listened to the audio book. And so that's why I want to go back and like I want to reread it before I get into the series, but I like have the physical book now.
yeah. No, and like I don't mind an audiobook, but I if I don't like the narrator's voice, I really, really struggle.
Oh my
But
gosh.
graphic audio, have you ever read any listened to any of the graphic audios? So graphic audio is a company, they call themselves a a play in your mind or something is like their thing.
Ooh.
But it's like every character has a different voice actor.
Oh, I've heard of
They
this.
have like sound effects and music in it. It's like,
They did that for Sandman too.
mm-hmm.
Um, I
They have
haven't
it's
listened to it though.
graphic audio is it's so good. And it's funny because they most of the main characters are not the same actors, but occasionally you'll be like, oh, I know that voice. And like the one character in the Crescent City books is also a character in the
Ooh,
Avatar books, but he's also one of the main characters in the Fourth Wing book. And so like we were like just laughing. We were like every time we hear his voice, we're like, oh.
that's so funny.
But yeah, the graphic audios, because it's like listening to like an audio play basically, like there's different characters, you know who's talking, you're not like losing track of what the narrator is saying. I really, really like those. So I
I
will
do
only
like
listen to
that.
the audiobook if it's those because
That's fair. That's
I'm like
fine.
I can narrate it in my head faster than this lady.
You know who can speed up the time.
I know that, but I accidentally played something today at 1.5 instead of 1. My audiobooks I usually listen to at 1.2, and
I listen
podcast
to
and
five.
podcasts I listen to at 1.3 because there's a lot
Mm.
of breathing in between, like people pausing in between each other. But I accidentally went to play like a test read aloud video for my students today, and it was at 1.5, and I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. I have no idea why she read these questions so fast. And then I was like, oh,
That's so funny.
she
See, I
didn't.
listen to audiobooks at 1.5, and I listen to my podcasts at just straight one because I like to feel like the cadence, and I feel like I lose some of that when I speed it up.
That's fair.
So, um, so to get us kicked off today, do you want to give us a little? Nope.
I
We
sure no, I sure do as soon as I'm done chewing this piece of chicken.
yeah, I would love to hear more from you.
All right. I've heard that it's possible to grow up. I've just never met anyone who's actually done it. Without parents to defy, we break the rules we make for ourselves. We throw tantrums when things don't go our way. We whisper secrets with our best friends in the dark. We look for comfort where we can find it. And we hope, against all logic, against all experience. Like children, we never give up hope.
That's lovely.
Oh, yeah, it was actually a
It's
nice
usually
one.
not.
It's usually not, but that was lovely.
That was lovely. I liked that. Um, well, today we are talking about Clarice, season 1, episode 9, Silence is Purgatory. It aired May 13th of 2021, and it was rated 6.2 out of 10,
I'll be
which is
honest, I didn't
lower
like
than
it.
your.
So,
Really?
mm-mm.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, then you are on par with the rest of the world. Our number one song's the same. Our number one movie is Spiral. I do not know anything about it. I did mean to go look it up, and I did look at the picture of it, and I still didn't know what it was, so I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And our number one book is A Gambling Man by David Baldacci. I think
We
I've
talked
read
about
that.
him. I don't think we've talked about that book, obviously, but we've talked about
No,
him.
yeah. Yeah, because he's got like a gazillion books, and they're
Yeah.
all hits. On this day, this should be like one of those days that you'll like hear the events and be like, I remember that day. Because this was the day the CDC came out and said that we no longer had to wear masks if we were vaccinated. And Ellen announced that she was ending her talk show after 19 years. So I was like, I like vividly remember both of these events.
I don't remember either of those things.
Oh, I do remember both of these events. Uh, I was already back at work because I went back to work really early. Um, but yeah,
I was
so I
just
remember
straight
that one.
chilling. I had just gotten home from Thailand.
I know.
I had been
Oh,
home
that's
for like 2 weeks at that point, and I was just straight chilling.
what a time. What a time. Um,
I might have been getting ready to go to Texas. I don't
oh, you
remember.
probably were.
I don't remember how soon after I left. Like I came home from Thailand, I flew to Texas. But
It was pretty quick though.
definitely,
Our
definitely still had to wear a mask on a plane at that point, though.
yeah. Um, our director is Deborah Campmere, who we've already spoken about. Our writers are Jenny Lumet, Alex Kurtzman, Eleanor Jean, and Tess Leibowitz. Eleanor Jean is our new writer. She is known for Pretty Little Liars Summer School, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and Miss Fletcher. And, fun fact, she is a renowned blacksmith. She is also a queer trans female, which is how we got this storyline. And along with Katrina Mathewson, they fought for the WGA to amend like their rights for treatment for transgender people.
Okay.
And because initially they were like, yeah, we're super like pro, you know, LGBTQ, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that only 10% of their health insurance covered, or their health insurance covered only 10% of what the WPATH said should be covered for transgender people,
Mm,
which is the World Pro Association for Transgender Health. Um, and so um, Eleanor and Katrina basically presented this to the board and put a lot of work and research into it and got that turned around where they pretty much got, I think they got like 90% of it included in the
okay.
health insurance for under the WGA because they talked about how like the WGA is like the Cadillac of insurance. And they had like no insurance for that. So, fun fact.
Okay.
Um, our editor is Bartholomew Bertram, who we've already talked about. And our guest is Jane Richards, who plays Julia Lawson, who's also a trans woman. She is known for Her Story, Acolyte, Miss Fletcher, and Blind Spot. Um, she was the first openly trans woman on CMT when she was in the show Nashville, which was
Okay.
also the first trans character on CMT. Um, and she was really involved in a lot of the like I am like she was in I Am Kate and a lot of those different things. And she was
Okay.
very involved in the like early, not early, obviously it's 2015,
Right.
16. But like the more recent early movement for trans rights. Which is why we got the show we got today. Um,
Which,
and
to
so
be
we
fair, that is not why I didn't like it.
right. No, no, no. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. That was really a minor part of it.
What I have feelings about the way it was handled a little bit, but
Yeah.
that's not. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, we'll
We'll
get
get to
there.
that. Um, so we have a flashback back to the beginning. We're seeing them talk about the river murders. We're seeing Clarice's speech that she gave about the serial killer, about the conspiracy and all this stuff. Um, and then we go to Cat. And we learned that like Clark is just like, we gotta find everyone's weak points. He's like, I'm going to be with Naomi. I have dirt on her because her partner or husband, I don't actually know what their status was. Their partner or husband is an immigrant, and I'm gonna get them sent back if she doesn't follow through. And Clarice is horrified. She's
Askabel.
like,
I know Askabel was the one who was like, "You're really gonna lean
yeah,
on immigration status? Like that's not
right.
cool."
And he's like, you do what you have to do to get this information. Like, this is bigger than that. Which, like, I see both sides.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and then he's telling Clarice, he's like, you gotta find something on Tyson. Um, like, he's gotta have something buried deep that we can also get him for. And she's just like, I don't know if I can do that, but I'm gonna go talk to him. So then we go to Catherine, and we hear the answer machine, and there's a guy who's calling her. We learn his name is Ned, and she like she's trying to call B to answer the phone. B's not answering the phone, so she like rushes over, gets the phone, and answers it. And so we don't know what's cool. I'm making moves again. So we don't know what's going on there yet. So we go over to the nonprofit, and Clarice has gone to see Tyson, and we learn that his dad actually owns the Alistair. I didn't write down the name of the company. I think it's Alistair, but it's the big
Whatever. It's
pharmaceutical
the
company that's running
company
all the
that the
trials.
pharmaceutical company that we're mad at. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one running all the trials. And we learned that his dad owns it, and he makes the like the Reprisol, which is the one we're having all the issues with.
Hmm.
And she's like, "Well, do you know Headland?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know Joe. He works for my dad." And Clarice came into this whole thing telling him like they really want me to lean on you and like really get this information out of you, but I don't want to play it that way. Like I want to be civil. I want us to just have a conversation, talk this through, and go from there. And then we learn that his mom died really suddenly when he was a teenager, and that's whenever he actually like was found by his dad. Like before then, his dad was not in the picture, didn't know anything about him, yada yada.
Hmm.
And so this is all like he grew up super poor. Like they didn't have money for anything.
Yeah.
And then we jump over to Garrett and Matt. And we learn that they are meeting with an attorney about discrimination. They have been talking about this Black Coalition. So Matt, as she does, did all of her research and got everything lined up and set up in a row.
Hmm.
And so she has an appointment scheduled for 2. We go to Catherine. There's a lot of jumping around, so I do apologize in advance. It just is what
And
it is.
again, credits so far into the episode.
Yeah, we have this next scene and then the credits. Because we go back to Catherine and she's standing outside having like a panic attack, and B finds her, and she's basically paralyzed, stuck to this like light pole, and she was planning to go meet Ned, and she couldn't do it. Like she couldn't get herself to go,
Yeah.
which is just sad. Then we get the credits. Um, so we go back to Vicap, and Espinal and Clarice are like discussing all of the victims and the suspects. They put their murder board together. And then she tries to ask him about his girlfriend now that they have this like secret that she knows about. And he just like clams up. And he is like, we're not talking.
Which, like, we,
Which is weird. Yeah.
no,
Like,
it's weird that he clams up the way he does, but like, it's weird that she thinks that they suddenly, because she caught him with his girlfriend, suddenly is like allowed to be privy to something that he has not talked about at work for multiple years.
right. And this also is one of the first scenes that I have some issue with how it's handled. Because this is not Clarice. Like, this is not her personality. This is
Yeah.
not who she is. She may be a little bit like this with like Matt, but she likes Escalade, but they're not besties by
No,
any means. And
no.
she knows that she just discovered this information. He would have never told her first. Like, she's not his first call.
Right.
And so it was really weird that they tried to make this like,
A
oh, we're gonna be
thing.
besties now and see how it goes. And so
Yeah,
it was just handled really weirdly. Um, yeah. So then we go to Clark and he's meeting with Naomi. And he's like obviously like blackmailing her to get this information. And she's telling him about Reprisol, or she's not telling him, she's like, we get a huge bonus for selling like drugs. And he's like, oh yeah, for all of them. Like it's just like, no, just
just
for the
the
one.
just that one.
Just for Reprisol. And he's like, oh. And he's playing like major bad cop in this scene. Like Clark has so much going for him emotionally in the last two episodes. He is so
Yeah.
intense. Um, and so he's like trying to talk her through it, and she's like, I don't know if I should do this. And he's like, you do realize, but then he says, you do realize your partner could be sent back to Australia. And I was like, Australia? That's your threat?
That's the fact
Like,
when they were talking about like leaning on him as an illegal immigrant and then it turned out he was from Australia. I was
it
like,
was,
what is happening?
I know,
I was like I
but
was
he
like
was
for a
concerned about going
show,
to Australia.
right, but also like for A, why would anybody be an illegal immigrant from Australia?
Right.
But B, for a show that has gone out of its way to be hand over fist politically involved in things that were not problems in the 90s, you would think they would have gone Latin America on this one. Middle East, maybe.
I was gonna
Fucking
say Middle
Australia.
East. Yeah.
Like we didn't go Cuba. We didn't go Honduras. We didn't go Syria. We
Mm-mm.
went Australia?
Yeah. Some of the choices, I'm like, I don't get that. I don't because like also like there's I mean I yes you're being separated from your partner. However, you could join them in Australia easily, and they're not in danger going back to Australia unless they're a wanted con. We may have
Right.
missed some of the important
Right.
information.
Did we miss the fact that they're actually like a felon in
Were they a hitman
Australia?
in Australia?
Right.
Like,
Like you're not under there's very few people groups in Australia that are in duress.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
What
It
do
was
I
just a
know?
wild choice. Wild choice. Anyways, so then we go back to Catherine, and she's come back inside, and she's talking to B about Ned. And B does not like Ned. Like, she is anti Ned from the beginning. She is like,
Yeah.
he abandoned you in your time of need. Y'all were
Mhm.
basically about to get married, and this is how he treated you. And she's like, no, it's fine. And B's like, absolutely not. It's not fine, but
It's
okay.
not fine.
Um,
But at the same time, B's kind of like, but you want to leave the house, so like,
right. She's like, that's not a bad thing. However, wish it wasn't him. Um, so now we go to Matt's legal appointment, and they're talking about all of the issues that Map is having. And he's like, okay, these are all like fair concerns. Like, you have this like little like yappy like young white guy that's taken over that doesn't know anything. Like, these are all like fine, whatever. And then she mentioned, or then Garrett mentions the Cody Sterling case, or Cody, I don't know if that's his last name, the case
Phelps.
from last Phelps, Cody Phelps case. And he's like, oh, I thought Starling handled that case. And she's like, we wouldn't have got there without my help. Like, I got us the funding. I was involved. Like, I spoke to the families. And he's like, great, that's our angle. And she's like, hold on. Like, Clarice didn't
And
do anything wrong.
right, and to be fair,
Mhm.
Clarice is also a victim. And I think that Map's immediate emotional reaction was as if she was attacking Clarice. And I think that the way they worded it was as if she was attacking Clarice. But Clarice is just an example of the
Mhm.
system working for a white woman and not a black woman. But Clarice is also not in charge of her own promotion. And so putting her name directly in the case file is publicity wise a
Hmm.
smart choice. Legally, not
Right.
gonna do shit for you.
And also, it brings up this issue of, are we trying to put women further by knocking other women down? Like, is
Right.
that what you want to do now? Because that is what you've set up in this instance. You have
Yeah,
not told the
and
men that said you're going to have this and then gave it to someone else. Those aren't the people you want to look at.
I
Feels
think
like, what
I think what you're doing is just using Clarice as the like precedent.
hmm
But the way they word it is very bad and very anti-woman.
hmm
Because I think the legal case is actually not to against Clarice. She's not, I don't know why they're saying that she is listed in as a complaint. Like
Yeah.
that's
It's
the
how they
wrong,
handled it.
yes, and that's the wrong place to put her in that lawsuit. She should be the
Hmm.
precedent, not the complainant.
Right. But that's the way they've chosen to go, and it's the
Wrong.
incorrect way, but it is the
It
way
is,
they've
it
chosen.
is, and it is wrong.
Hmm. So I'm gonna go back to ViCap, and Clark comes back with his information. He's telling everyone what he learned from Naomi. And then we go to Joe and Paul, and we learn that Joe filed an ex parte motion, um, and tells Paul that his wife is completely gone. Now I meant to look up the definition of an ex parte motion. Maybe it's something I should know as a lawyer. However,
As a lawyer, as specifically as someone who wants to go into family law, you probably should definitely know this, but it has to do with custody. And to be fair, I know it because of the deleted scene.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
I don't know it
uh,
because I know the law. I know it because I watched the deleted scene.
so I know what they're talking about with but the thing is, like, it's a motion. It doesn't have to just be for custody. Like,
Oh,
you
okay.
can file this for anything. I just don't remember the specifics of it. Specifically here, they're trying to completely remove Mandy from custody. Like, he's gonna have full custody. Um, I don't, I don't remember exactly what it's for. Could have Googled it. Sure did. Maybe I will by the end. But
Um,
did you Google it?
yes, I did. An ex parte motion is a request for a court order without the other party being present or having the opportunity
Oh,
to respond.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is just saying like ex parte
It's
is like
typic
without
yeah,
party.
it's typically used when there's an emergency and immediate danger of irreparable harm.
Right. So that's what they're
So,
saying
so they're
here.
basically
So
saying they don't have to wait for her to go to court because she's a danger to the children.
right. So they want to remove her from the kids now. I was like, it's not just custody because I know enough about custody. I know enough about family laws. Like this is a trial motion that I don't know enough about.
Got it.
Um, I've been arguing with my civil procedure book. It's been a nightmare. This whole weekend has been a nightmare with that. Um, I don't know it well enough, and I do have to take a test on it.
Yeah.
All right, I dropped my Dr. Pepper a minute ago, and so I was opening it and a little nervous. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh, okay, good.
Um, so so he wants to file this. Basically, he wants to blindside Mandy and take the kids away without her having any knowledge till it's over. And get a court order saying that's approved. And obviously, he doesn't want to do that because he's trying not to attack her. He wants to play nice. We know this from the beginning.
Yeah.
And Paul starts asking him about Caroline or Carolina. And Joe's like, why would you bring that up? We have an agreement. And he's like, no. Here's the thing. It came across my desk. He's like, I have to answer for it. I need you to tell me what answer I'm supposed to say because I have to say something. And obviously, you don't like what I already know. So he
Right.
starts coming up with a story. He's like, I do pro bono work for Tyson's nonprofit, and we've just crossed paths. I don't know anything more about this woman. And it's like, sure. Fine. Sure.
Great.
Um, and
If you
then
if you say so.
right. And then Paul asks for a drink, and they share a drink. Paul, who's been on the wagon for years now. And then we learned from Naomi that the woman who signs all the checks is Julia Lawson. So our next stop is Julia Lawson's house. Um, and Clarice and Estel go to ask about Reprisal and kind of like what the deal is. And so Julia's outside, comes outside and talks to him. Or they catch her outside. She's talking to him,
Yeah.
and she's not really answering questions, but she's like not really pushing back a lot either. Like she's not being like super haughty about it. And then her roommate comes out and tells her that basically you're not answering anything. And Clarice is like, here's my card. If anything comes up, like women have died, we need to get to the bottom of this. And as soon as Erin, the roommate, realizes that she's Clarice Starling, she's like, this is the woman. We can't talk to her. Let's go inside now. And Esquel basically has to like pull her away.
Yeah.
So go back.
I
Yeah.
this I get it. I get what they were trying to do.
I
But
have more comments in the next scene about this.
but the acting in the oh, she's my roommate. I understand that they were trying to be like fake bad acting, but it was just bad acting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so we go back to Vicat and we learn that Alistair, everything is in a disarray right now because Alistair is in the middle of a buyout. And so they don't want the bad press coming out about Reprisal. They don't want about these clinical trials. They want to just sell it for millions of dollars, billions of dollars, probably. And Paul tells um, Clarice that it just like she's just gonna have to break Tyson. He's like, I don't care. Like I understand you're trying to play nice, but we have to break this guy. We have to know more, and he is our way in.
Yeah.
And then he keeps Clark there while Clarice goes on, and he tells him about his drinking. And he's like, look, obviously, I can't tell my sponsor because the reason I did it was to like build camaraderie with Joe. And so I can't explain any of that to him. And Clark just plays tough love. And he's like, absolutely not. He's like, I see what you're saying. However, I know that's not really what it's about.
Mhm.
And we're not playing this game. He's like, you're telling me so that I can tell you you're wrong. And that's basically what happens.
Yeah.
So we go back to Garrett and Map is giving her whole spiel about how she doesn't want to hurt Clarice, and Garrett doesn't care. He's like, this is our way in. This is what we have to do.
And
And like,
I get it, but we're now what episode number is this?
9.
So we're now 9 episodes in. And we have yet to see this man have a conversation about anything other than the Black Coalition. Zero. Zero. And like, you know how there's like the Bechdel test and like if women
Yeah,
actually have like worthwhile conversations, this black man's entire purpose in the show is to be a black man. And it is
right.
terrible writing.
Yeah, it is.
There's like
Absolutely.
it is illogical and unbelievable that Ardelia is still talking to him because he's never spoken to her about anything other than pressuring her to join the Black Coalition.
Hmm.
Like the writing is just not good.
Well, and also like you look at his side of the argument and you like in the grand scheme of things, you're like, sure. Sometimes you have to do things that aren't for the best of some people in order to get the best for more people. Like I understand that that is a logical thing.
Right.
You may have to throw someone under the bus. And what he says of you're not throwing someone under your bus, you're dragging them with you because you're already there. Fine, fair. However, everyone's argument is that this is the only case. And that's just not true. That's just not the way it is. There is
Yeah.
a bigger fish that you can go after. There is a better case that you can have. And they just
Yeah.
keep pushing. And the fact that like he is basically doing the same thing is it's like that's also not believable because you
Yeah.
you know if you're someone who has organized this much, you have been planning for this many years, waiting for the one case, you're gonna know that this is not the case. You're gonna know that there's a different way this needs to be done because you've
Right.
done the planning and the strategizing. Like it's just unbelievable, like you're saying. Like it's just not
It's
well done.
yeah. And it's
And
frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to see a character in a show that is trying to make a political statement, they're literally whittling down their characters to the stereotype that they're trying to avoid. Their
Yeah.
characters don't have a
Um,
personality. They're
mhm.
the alcoholic overworked boss, the sniper who can't get past the fact that he's a monster, the man who never grew up because he made a mistake as a teenager, the black man who wants equal rights. Every single character in the show is a one-dimensional, stereotypical cutout
Mhm.
of a point of view they're trying to tell us. And I don't like it.
Yeah. And everything is just, this is one of the things I said in the first episode. I was like, everything is so pointed. Everything is like, this is what we want you to hear. This is what we're telling you. And it's like, this thing you're trying to tell me is fine. I don't have a problem with what you're
I
trying
don't
to
have a
tell me.
problem with the thing you're
I
trying to tell
agree
me.
with you.
I have a
It's
problem with
fine.
the way you're trying to tell it me.
Right. I want you to do it with tact, with creativity, with writing, better dialogue. I don't know. Like, I have
And
other
like
qualifications.
and there's an argument that like the time for subtlety is dead. And I've heard, especially in that in 2021, that was
Right.
said a lot. The time for subtlety is dead. Great. Tell that story.
Right.
That that's not the show you sold people on.
Right.
That's not the premise you attempted. That please write a story about that. Tell me that story. Fight for those people.
But also, maybe the time for subtlety is gone, then you can use that in your writing. You don't just keep saying this to my face. Like, you think someone who's one, people that are having rallies about this isn't how they talk about it. They put emphasis, they put emotion, they put creativity. Like, you have to
Yeah.
have something more than just saying a statement to my face, is what it feels like. And that doesn't persuade anyone.
No.
That's not, you can't just state
No
facts to
one has
people.
ever had their mind changed by being told they're stupid or wrong or
Right,
hateful.
right. Absolutely. And so you can't change anyone's mind. So your point is just like the point that comes from this show is, oh, this is the point you're trying to make. Like that's what I get from it. It's
Yeah.
not making the point. It's just, oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I feel like every episode has felt that way about something different. We're
Hmm.
about the same thing when we have Garrett, who's the same in every episode. Um,
And that's honestly really the most upsetting thing is that he just is so badly written that
right.
this black man is a stereotype and I hate it.
Hmm. And it's written so badly written for someone who's such a good actor. Like
Yes.
these, okay. I don't
Yeah.
know that all these actors have dimension, but there are actors in this show that have a lot of dimension and are really great actors, like Garrett, like like Paul Credler. Like these are people that have acted so many things that you can give them a better role. There are
Yes.
some that I beg to differ, may or may not be able to do a better role,
Well, yeah.
but
Mm.
that's fine. But you can write them a better character.
That's
You don't think you can
neither
do
here
this
nor
level.
there. That's neither
Right,
here nor there.
right. So So we go back to VICAP and we're doing our red string murder map. Um, as cliche as it may be. And Clarice wants to talk about the Emmy again. She just can't help herself. Again, so against her character.
Doesn't make sense,
So
but
off the
sure.
wall. But it's what it is. And this is where Escobar comes in and starts talking about basically she realizes he has PTSD from being a sniper and that the ME has PTSD from an incident she witnessed in Texas, which I have more information about when the show's over. Um, and so he doesn't want to tell her that he was a sniper, and she's like, "Well, it was what you were," and he's like, "What I was," because he's like, "I don't know if you know, but everyone still just sees me as the hired gun. Like that is my
Right.
role here." And honestly, that's probably the best way to say like everyone's got their role and he is the hired gun. Correct.
Right. But again, it's because we have one-dimensional characters.
Yep. Yep. Um, so we go back to Julia Lawson and we learn that and she wants to talk. She's talking to her roommate, Erin, and she wants to talk, and Erin like really doesn't want that to happen. She's like, here's the thing. We have all of these issues going on. I'm so sick. If you lose your job over this, we're losing our health insurance and I'm basically screwed. Doesn't matter. She's like, I know it's selfish. It's not for the greater good, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Wow, you look at me in 2025 and say this to me, and I say, that's right. You look at me in 1993, we don't even recognize, for the most part, domestic rights in 93. It was until 95 we even started talking about it, really. So,
Here is the only way that that works. The only way that that works is if their marriage and their insurance is in her dead name.
so that is one of the things. However, it's obviously not
It's
because
obviously
the
not
company's recognized for Julia.
because the company doesn't know her name.
And it is allowed in some circumstances through some specific companies. However, that is not the norm.
No,
It is
which
very rare.
I guess they're kind of saying that this company and this pharmaceutical company is a big deal, and that's why she works there, and it is the only way that they're able to get this insurance. But it's still very much
But if they're putting themselves out as roommates, and she said she's been hiding this her whole life, there's no way that there's health insurance for her. There's just,
no.
unless she's lying and saying she is Julia when she goes to the doctor and using
But
Julia's insurance. Like, there is no way.
even now in 2025, as someone who has an employer-based insurance that I had to file a change of life status, like I couldn't just
Mhm.
add Dan to my insurance because I wanted to.
Right.
I had to send my insurance company my marriage certificate
Mhm.
and explain that I was adding him as my spouse.
Mhm.
Now, if he was a she, I could still do it. That wouldn't be an issue if we had a legal
In
marriage
2025.
in 2025.
Mhm.
If we had a legal marriage certificate, like, but in 1995 or 1993, a domestic partnership was not a valid, but like change of life for insurance,
Mhm.
and b they are hiding that they're married to her employer, which means that there's no way her employer could have her on an employer-based health insurance.
And this is where I get upset with Eleanor because she fought for these rights in 2016 to be changed to the WGA as a writer on the show. Why would you write it this way knowing that that's not how it was in 93?
Right.
Like, you knew that when you wrote
And
it
that's the
because
thing is
you felt this your whole
like
life.
you and I are in our early 30s.
Mhm.
We did not we were not alive functioning as adults with insurance in the 90s. All of these writers were.
But also, I was in law school in 2016 when the law started getting passed and changing. Like,
Right.
I was alive as an adult when things started changing, and I was not in 93, which should have been like, no. And
Yeah.
I will say, that is not necessarily true about these writers. There are a lot of young writers. Some of them are in their 20s.
Oh,
Um,
then why the
yeah.
fuck do they? Oh, that's a whole other issue. Why are
Eleanor's a little
you?
bit older, but not by much. They're all very young. It's a very young writing team. It's a very young directing team.
But
Um,
why is no one? Why is no? Why would you? Oh God.
why do you have people that don't know what it's like in 93 writing about
Yeah.
93? Yeah, great question. Great question. I would also like to ask that one.
I'm so angry.
Add to the list of issues I have with this team. And it's, well, I'll rant again at the end. So, so now we go to Ned and Catherine. I thought they were at a bar. It seems like they're at a coffee shop. I've learned later. Thought they were at a bar.
Right.
Um, and they're chatting. And we learn that he's come. Oh, we don't get anything in this scene. He's just there. They've just met. We'll come back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm fine. Um, so we go to Paul and Clark, and Clark is watching him like a hawk. He's like, "You've messed up once. I'm not letting you do it again. You're not telling your sponsor. I'm your sponsor." Um, and then in the midst of this, Clark gets a 911 page from Naomi, and he's split on what to do. He's like, "I gotta like, it's 911. I gotta figure out what's going on, but also, are you okay?" And Paul's like, I'm fine, I promise, go. So Clark leaves. And then Clarice is there, and Paul's telling her, he's like, I want you to go back and try to talk about this thing with Julia Lawson. He's like, there's more to it. I think you can really get to her. Like, let's just try. And she starts talking about, she's like, I don't know. She's like, I think it's something about me they don't like. Like it's specifically me that they have a problem with.
Yeah.
And then we learn that Julia Lawson's at BICAP. And she is there to talk. And she tells Clarice, she's like, I can't do much more than this. She was like, I've signed NDAs. I like can't lose my job. I have a lot at stake. She's like, but there's some discrepancy in the records. She's like, and you guys probably have a good accounting team. I mean, you got Al Capone, so you got a good team looking into this. And I was like, what a
What?
ridiculous line to put in there.
Yeah.
Um, and she's like, so you've got to be able to do this. And then she says, however, I'm also here because I want to talk about Buffalo Bill. It's like dun dun dun, except it's not really that exciting.
Yeah.
But then she goes into so we pop back over to Ned and Catherine, our little datesy, and he is apologizing for abandoning her. He's like, I would have if I could go back, I would do it all differently. And he's like, so what do you have like coming up? Like you had all these big dreams, and she's like, oh well, I'm thinking about going to Parsons. Like she's always wanted to do more like design stuff, and she was
Yeah.
like, well, we always talked about RISD, which I don't know what that is. Um,
The Rhode Island School of Design.
that tracks, that tracks. And then she's like, also, thank you for wearing my favorite sweater. And then he like totally clams up, and he's like, I think I gave you the wrong impression. And we go back to Clarice and Julia because we're all here for the suspense. Um, and Julia's talking about how everything that came out around Bill really like screwed up everything like for trans people. Um, and they were like because they like referred to him as trans for everything. And she was like, I know he's been through a lot. He had a lot going on. Um, whether or not he was actually trans doesn't matter. Because it's just the references and how that all was talked about to make him crazy, which is something we've brought up from Silence of the
Correct.
Lambs.
Correct.
So it's not like an illogical discussion.
No,
Um, and
I
she's
wasn't
like,
I wasn't even mad about that. This scene
mm,
irked me because now I am not saying that Julia, the character, the actress, is an unattractive woman. But most trans women have more masculine faces. Obviously, depending on where they're at in process, whatever. It is one thing to not assume someone is trans upon first meeting them. But when someone who is a very, very masculine presenting woman begins talking about how you and your words about trans people affected them personally, the shock and awe on Clarice's face and confusion at this conversation shows me that she is too stupid to work in the FBI.
yeah. I
And
will say that is
there,
one thing that fills 93 though.
yes, fair, but for them to be trying so hard to write it in a way where she's not assuming things, they then make her fucking stupid. And I was like, ah,
Yeah, because they do really play into a lot this episode of like Clarice really isn't prejudiced. She really wants the best for everyone. She really just doesn't understand some of the things that don't affect her. And it's like there's a lot. Like you may not understand
you don't
how a
have to
black woman
understand the
feels.
experience. You don't have to understand
Right,
anybody's experience, but to be like stupid that they exist
right.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with context clues. Like there is too
Yeah.
much
And
there
like
to not.
you're supposed to be like the behavioral analysis, like darling child, smartest fucking genius
Mhm.
coming out of the FBI, and you didn't deduce that?
Right, right.
I
Oh
I
my
did
God.
I did the first time she was on the screen.
Hmm. Hmm.
But okay.
Yeah.
It didn't
So,
affect my opinion of the character, but I was aware of it. Like,
yeah. I mean, she wasn't a stellar character, but no one is here. Like, that's not. I mean, it's a
no,
little bit her fault, but it's not
but
like totally her fault.
I didn't look at it and go, "Oh, that's a trans woman." Don't believe it.
Yeah. Not because she's trans, it's because the
I was
character
like, "Oh, that's a
is
trans
trans.
woman," and her partner, who she's pretending is not her partner. Cool, moving on. And yes, I get it. 920. This is 30-year time difference in the visibility.
Hmm.
Fine. But I'm also not a behavioral analysis Quantico graduate.
Right. And it's also possible that when I met her on her lawn the first time, even today, maybe I wouldn't notice it. Maybe I wouldn't recognize it. However, you start telling me the things that she's saying, I'd catch on pretty darn quick. Pretty darn. Um, so da da da. So she's saying specifically that Clarice made it harder. She's like, here's the thing. Everyone talked about you in this case. Everyone talked about Buffalo Bill, and you stayed silent.
Yeah.
And like, again, this is a today argument, but it is still the valid argument. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, you had the means to come out and say, hey, maybe we frame this in a different way. And she's like, I'm not the
Yeah.
journalist. She's like, it doesn't matter. People are listening to you.
Yeah.
Once you have a voice, people listen. And you have to then be careful with the words you say. And also, you have to stand up when they say something that's twisted from what you said. Like, you have to come back and be like, this isn't what I said. This
And
isn't what I meant.
it's so interesting that they portray her this way, like Clarice this way,
Yeah.
especially because they're not doing it because it makes sense for the character. They're doing it because it makes sense for the agenda. Because
Hmm.
Clarice's abhorrence of what Krenler did in episode 1 tells me that if there was actually an issue or a hatred of the idea that transness was what caused Bill's problem, Clarice's character, like Clarice as a character, would have said something.
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
or she wouldn't say something now. Like, you know what? Like, she can't be
Hmm.
both. She can't be both.
Hmm.
She's either that Spitfire who doesn't give a shit what the authorities say and she's going to tell the journalists what is true, whether she wants it or not, or she's the person who reads the facts, sees it, and lives in the world of 1993 where that transness is a defining characteristic of Bill, point blank period, end of the conversation.
Hmm.
She doesn't get to be
Yep.
both because you need her to be both for your agenda.
Right. Right. 100%. Um, and she ends by saying, I needed you to know what your silence can do. Just a great line. Wonderful line. Great to say. Everyone should hear it. Get it. It's part of an agenda. It's not part of a show. It's not part of this show
Yeah.
in particular. So go back to Ned and Catherine, and we learned that he's being so blah 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 because he's dating someone, which like obviously.
Obviously.
Um, and Kat's like, oh, you're just here to ask forgiveness. You just want to absolve yourself. Like you're not here to really make amends. You want to feel better about yourself for what you didn't do for me, which
Which
is
might be true.
fair.
Might be
Totally true.
true. Definitely
And
feels, again, pointed.
is
And
very pointed.
maybe this conversation wouldn't bother me if the other 8 conversations that just
Right.
happened hadn't happened. Because do I believe that Catherine would have realized that and come to that conclusion and been angry about it? I do. I do. Based on the
Mhm.
conversations that she had with her mom and the conversations she had
Yep.
with Clarice, I see that as an accurate part of her character. However, when it's the 8th scene in a row of me being told who's a good person and who's not, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Right. Absolutely. Um, and then she goes into this whole spiel about how weak he is as a person. And she's like, I remember when we got together, I thought this is someone I'll have to carry. I don't know if she's ready for that. And she was like, and I also know this is not a man you can count on. This is not a man. And I was like, you are making a real hard speech here. Didn't need to be this, but it's fine. And then we have And then she tells him to leave and he goes off and she starts having flashbacks to Bill. And then Ruth shows up and she was there to calm her down and take her home. And she says, she was like, B let me know where you were, and I knew that I'd need to be here to basically come take you home. And like, I hate Ruth, but this character is so
Badly
like,
written because she,
yes,
yeah, because
because nothing lines up.
I don't understand who she is as a character, which is either the best writing in the entire world, because she goes like when you're a character the way Ruth is, she is either so incredibly well written that the nuance is deliberately confusing for the audience and we never know where her true intentions lie on purpose.
Mhm.
Or she is the shittiest written character and she fits whatever role the writers need her to fit for the other characters that week. And based on everything else that's going on, I think I know which one of the two it is.
And I would have said if you asked me at the dinner scene, like last week or week before, I would have said it was the first. That she was the most well written because she was showing all of her dimensions. You could see how she could be this face in front of everyone, but then also kind of be an abusive mom at home. And then we get this scene, and I was like, this is something's not right. I was
Yes.
like, this is not quite it.
Yep.
Um, so we go back to Clark and Naomi, and he like finds her in the car. Turns out she's OD'd on Reprisol. And he is talking with Paul about it, and he's telling him, he's like, it could have been like she could have just OD'd. She could have been like too in her head about this. And Paul's like, absolutely not. And Clark's like, Clarice, like, it's a misdirection.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, this is what they keep doing. They keep trying to like have suicides and this and that. Like, obviously, it's a misdirection.
Yeah.
Um, and Clark says that Joe is a fixer, which is fine. I watched a lot of mob stuff with my dad when he was here. So much that he was like, we can't watch stuff about the mob anymore. And I was like, okay. Um, so
Oh, okay,
Joe could
Dad.
be a fixer
Yeah.
for this company. I think he's a little more than that because he's
I
usually
do
the
too.
lawyer's not the fixer. Usually that's
No.
not the character.
No,
Um,
he's way too involved in the people who are fixing things.
yeah,
Like the scene with Marilyn just tells me that he's not a fixer. He's uh,
yeah,
in charge of more.
right. So, and then Clark is trying to say like, just trying to say bad things about Julia, and he's like, she's in this and that and the other, and he goes to say something about her being trans, and Clarice loses it.
Yeah.
She like just loses it, and then we go back to the murder map, and Esquivel tells her, he's like, "You've really dropped the ball, Tyson. Like we talked about this. Like I know that Clark is trying to make everyone like really go hard, and it's not always the right move. But he's like, but you really did drop the ball here. Like
Yeah,
you really should have pushed
you didn't
harder,
even try.
Tyson."
You didn't push him at all, let alone hard enough.
Yeah, and so of course Clarice's response is to bring up the medical examiner again. Like she just can't. Like she just can't
She
let it go,
can't.
and it's so out of character. But she says she's going to go back and talk to Tyson. She's like, fine. You all want me to go talk to him? I'll go talk to him. So she goes to the nonprofit. Oh, and this is where she tells him that she's supposed to lean on him. And I'm like,
Hmm.
you don't get to tell people that. It doesn't matter if you agree or not.
Yeah.
That's not where you start, girl.
No.
And she tells him about losing her dad to like build a connection. And um, she's like, but that's it. If you want to tell me anything, you know where to find me. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like that's even less than you did the first time. This I can't. I can't with her. I can't with her this episode.
Yeah.
So we go back to Julia, who's at work super late and clearly grabbing some files from her desk.
No,
And
she's
Joe,
putting the files
or
that
putting
she
them
gave
back.
Clarice back. Yeah.
Yeah. And Joe comes in and tells her that she did really great on everything. He's like, you did great on the audit stuff. Everything's clear. We're doing a great job. And she's like, thank you. And he's like, why are you here so late? She's like, the job. And he's like, keep up the good work. And then he dead names her. Because he obviously knows because he's just blackmailing everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and then pretends like he doesn't.
He's like, no, I just had good
Um,
work, Julia. It's fine.
yeah, and then moves on. And then we go back to Clarice and Matt. And Ardelia says they're drinking to friendship. And then tells her that about the lawsuit and that she's included by name. And Clarice starts apologizing. And like, here's the thing. Clarice can say, I never saw this until you started telling me a few episodes ago. Um, but I see this now. However, this is when she can also say, but why me? Like, I'm your best friend.
Well, no,
We
and
live
here's the
together.
thing. This is the only time that I fully understood Clarice. Clarice has just had a fucking shitload of other people's problems that are somehow actually her fault dumped in her lap in
Hmm.
one day. Clarice clearly has more trauma than she can fucking deal with and blames herself for shit that isn't her fault. And now her best friend, the only person who's supposed to get her, is like, by the way, you're part of the reason why I'm not succeeding in life. And she's like, you know what? Fucking do okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like at this point, you're right. I'm wrong. I suck. Everything's terrible, and I'm sorry I exist. Like that's where I would be, so I get it.
That's fair. That's fair. Um, but she does tell Clarice Maps like, I don't know why you're apologizing to me. I'm about to ruin your life. I was
Yeah.
like, cool, cool deal. Um, so then Kat calls Clarice and tells her that she went outside today. And Clarice is like, cool stuff.
Oh, great. Love
And
that.
then she tells her that oh, she tells her that neither of them can keep hiding. She's like, we can do this, we can break out of this. And then she gets off the phone and we see all of the stuff around her, and she's clearly making her real plan to go see
Yeah.
Bill's mom because she has the train ticket and schedule and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the end. We do get two deleted scenes. One where
Yes.
Mandy actually gets the motion, and one where Ruth tucks Kat in before she goes to bed, and then she pulls out her secret box. I'm sure that's when she calls Clarice.
Yeah.
Um, I think because a lot of our deleted scenes seem to be like we've had two, seem to be like Paul's family. I think the writers wanted to go more into the Paul storyline and
Yeah.
just didn't have the time, and so this is what we get. And I was like, that's fine, that's fair.
Yeah.
Mm. Do you have some thoughts that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of went off the rails early. I just hated this episode in general, because my least favorite thing about political storytelling is when it's all political and no storytelling. I
Hmm.
don't I could literally disagree with every single political point that you're making, and if you tell a good story and write it well, I will concede that.
Yeah.
But even when I agree with what you're trying to say, when you do it so badly that I feel like you're punching me in the throat just for watching the show, I can't. I
Hmm.
can't do it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's way too much. I anticipated it was gonna be way too much. And we're here now, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you at least some of this was based off of reality.
Oh,
Um,
I believe it. Like I'm not saying that. I obviously court cases for like African American people having an advancement in corporations,
yeah.
especially in places like the government. Ugh, get it. Trans rights and trans medical care and trans health insurance and the ability to use your given your chosen name and identity in the workplace still an issue right now in 2025. 0% of me is worried about that.
Yeah, no, I meant
It's
more like based in reality in the time. Like some of this had precedent that actually like set it up for this way.
okay.
Um, so like in October of 1988, so prior to 93, we had a taco circuit case, and it was a class action discrimination that centered on Hispanic agents placed on temporary assignments for dead end jobs. So what they did basically for part of the bureau, um, is they would when like if a Hispanic person started kind of like doing too much, they'd start putting them on dead end jobs, similar to what they're doing to Ardelia,
Mm,
with the cold cases. And they did have a court case about this, where they did end up coming out winning. And
okay.
yeah, it was a 9-day trial, and the lead plaintiff attorney was Hugo Rodriguez, who was a former FBI agent himself, and that is the character that George Castillo is based off of
Got
for
it.
this. So like him as that attorney, his background is meant to like mirror this
Yeah.
case.
And again, that's not my issue is not
Hmm.
content, it's the
Right.
execution.
Um, yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a problem with the content the last couple weeks too, because they keep trying to talk about things that haven't happened yet
Well,
deal
there's
with this.
that.
So that's been my issue.
I mean,
Um,
it's just all around not
yeah.
good.
Um, so
Which
also
is
in
so upsetting because I think about the first episode, I really did think there was promise.
um, um, so in 1991, there was a former member of the U.S. Merchant Marines who drove a pickup truck through the plate glass front window of a Luby's cafeteria in Texas. And then he
Hmm.
engaged in a killing spree where he killed 23 people, primarily women, and then turned the gun on himself. And there were 27 casualties that arose from the incident. And so this is the case that Ethel was referencing when he said the medical
Yeah.
examiner had PTSD from the Luby's
From,
incident.
yeah. Okay.
So that was this. But that is all I have for my trivia. At least I did have some this week, even if it's all disappointing or depressing. So who do you want to punch in the face?
Catherine?
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of really terrible people in this episode. Like, it was more of a how do I narrow it down situation.
Right, right, right.
But no, I really just, Catherine, her inability to stop fixating on this lady who really had absolutely nothing to do with her at
Hmm.
all is just too much.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I'm gonna go with Clarice
Fair.
because she just really, really got my goat this episode. Um, so who's your MVP?
Did anybody do a fucking single good thing this episode? Um, I guess Escobar, because he was the only one who like, I mean, he really was kind of shitty about the leaning in on Tyson situation, but like also he was doing his job and he didn't like say absolutely unhinged, overly personal things to everyone who fucking looked at him like everybody else in this episode.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Um, yeah, everyone sucked. So I think I'm gonna go with Julia because she was trying to do the right thing, even if it was kind of detrimental to her existence.
Which is totally
Um,
valid.
and she's the only one that really is trying to stand up against the company that she works for,
Yeah.
when no one else is. So I think I'm gonna have to go with her.
I mean,
Um,
it is going to be how she dies, probably, but
oh, I mean
that's.
immediately, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, so on that note, if you have thoughts, feelings, feedback, etc., you can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you for our new season of Stargate Season 8 on Sunday.
Bye.
Bye!